trust that we can stay online and live the whole time. But if something happens along the way and we drop out for a second, just hang tight, stay there. We will be back online as soon as possible. With that said, let's kick things off. Welcome to day 2 of this quiz funnel workshop. I could not be more excited to welcome you back to our second session of this week. And today we're going to be talking about the big idea behind your quiz, which is the first step of the process. Once again, my name is Ryan Levesque. I want to welcome you back to this 2021 quiz funnel workshop. Over 25,000 people have registered to be part of this workshop, this once-a-year opportunity. And for those of you who are participating live, I got some good stuff and some surprises in store for you here in this session. So we've got a lot to cover. Today's the second day in this quiz funnel workshop, and today is all about the big idea. In fact, we're going to be covering a lot of ground. We're going to be covering how to come up with the big idea behind your quiz, how to create an irresistible quiz funnel. And it all starts with your big idea. We're going to talk about the 3 types of quiz funnels to choose from and how to decide which one is right for you. We're going to cover the 5 biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to creating their quiz and how to avoid making these mistakes. We're also going to talk about the profit potential of your very first quiz funnel. In fact, I've got this really cool custom-built calculator that I'm going to share with you so you can calculate the profit potential of your quiz. And that is just the beginning. We're going to take some live quiz funnel examples here on the call to bring everything to life, and we're going to have a lot of fun here today. So first things first, a little bit of housekeeping. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you join the Facebook group, quizfunnel.com/Facebook. It's where the conversation is taking place in between these live sessions. You go to that link on the screen. It'll take you to a Facebook group that looks a little something like this. You can see here, almost 38,000 people have joined this community, and you'll see what that looks like here. Make sure you go to that link, join the Facebook group. That's thing number 1. We pop back over to me. Thing number 2 is as follows. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, that you join our text message alert thread, my secret text thread. You can do that by going to the link quizfunnel.com/text. I will send you a text message every time that we go live so that you do not miss a single session. And I've also got some cool goodies and bonuses that I'll share with you, not to mention getting access to all of my notes every single day that you may have missed along the way. I'll make sure that I send you all my personal private notes that you get access to, plus some extra goodies and all good stuff there. So the page looks a little something like this. You'll just enter your email address, your phone number, put your country code, hit the send button, and we'll get you access to all the good stuff. That's housekeeping item number 2. Come back to me. Housekeeping item number 3 is as follows. I mentioned that we've got some prizes and surprises in store for you. And I'm going to be giving away some of these prizes. Now, how do you win these prizes? The more you participate, the more you comment, the more you engage inside the community, the more you share your takeaways, the more you post your homework, the more you participate, the more you engage, the better chance that you have to win. And I'm going to be announcing our first 3 winners of our first prizes. So I made a promise that I'll be giving away some Amazon gift cards, $100 Amazon gift cards to a few of you who've been super participatory inside this community. And I'm going to share the first 3 of them right now. First prize is going to be given away to the one, the only Ms. Adrian Charles. Adrian, if you're watching this live right now, congratulations. We'll get that over to you, all the details. Number 2, Mary McFarland. Congratulations. You're going to be winning a $100 Amazon gift card. And last but not least, the one, the only Mr. Ryan Pedro Villanueva. You are getting a $100 Amazon gift card because you guys have been amazing. You're doing all the work, you're doing all the steps, you're participating in a huge way, you're engaging. So how do you win one of these prizes? If you're wondering, the more you participate, the better chance you got to win. So when I ask you and invite you to leave a comment, go ahead and do that. Along the way, if you have a takeaway, what we call a nugget, I'm going to take this from one of my friends who uses this. I think it's a great idea. If you've got a nugget that you're taking away from something, I want to invite you to use the hashtag nugget inside the comment thread and post it in real time. So anytime that you got a takeaway, an idea that you've seen, post the hashtag nugget, post it here. I'll be giving away some more Amazon gift cards. I'm even going to be giving away some limited edition Build It t-shirts like this one right here and the one I'm wearing right now. You got to participate. The more chances you, the more you participate, the more chances you have to win. win. So I told you I'm not above bribing you to be successful. My goal is for you to engage. My goal is for you to take action. The more you engage, the more you actually take action, the more results you're actually going to get. And so this is me inspiring, motivating, encouraging you to take massive action. All right, before we go any further, before we get into all the new stuff we're going to cover here today, I want to take a moment to recap what we've talked about so far. Because in the first session, day one, we introduced this concept of the personalization phenomenon and how businesses in all sorts of different markets are using the power of personalization to build disruptive businesses that are taking over industry after industry, like Warby Parker in the eyeglasses market, out of nowhere to over $320 million a year. Health IQ in the insurance industry, over $450 million valuation, out of nowhere. In the sleep and mattress business, Sleep Number, out of nowhere to over $975 million. Stitch Fix in the fashion industry, out of nowhere to $1.6 billion. And Noom in the weight loss industry, out of nowhere to over $3.7 billion in valuation. The thing that every single one of these businesses all have in common is that they are all using a quiz funnel. Now, we talked about what is a quiz funnel exactly, and we introduced yesterday the way that things used to be done, what we call the old way of doing a funnel. The old funnel was simply a one-size-fits-all way of taking people through the path of finding out who you are, not knowing who you are, to then becoming a paying customer, taking people through a one-size-fits-all path. That is the old way of doing things, compared to the new way of doing things, the way of using a quiz funnel specifically, where you take someone from not knowing who you are to inviting them to answer a few simple questions so that you can put them into one of several buckets, and based on their bucket, deliver a custom message, custom product, custom offer, which allows you to scale your results much, much, much more quickly. We went through dozens of examples of quiz funnels, like in the golf market, the swing killer example, helping you identify your number one swing killer. What is your number one swing killer? Take the quiz to find out now. Attract, diagnose, prescribe. We talked about in the weight loss space, the weight loss type quiz. Take the quiz to find out your body's weight loss type. Attract, diagnose, prescribe. We talked about in the real estate space, the home sellability score quiz to find out, is now the right time to sell your home? Take the quiz to find out now. Attract, diagnose, prescribe. You even had an opportunity to take a quiz funnel yourself by going to takethefunnelquiz.com. Just out of curiosity, go ahead, this is an opportunity to engage. For those of you who have taken this quiz, do me a favor, take a moment inside the comment thread to type in the word quiz, all caps, Q-U-I-Z, quiz. If you have taken this quiz, takethefunnelquiz.com. If you haven't, write this down. That's going to be one of your homework assignments after today's sessions. Why is that? Because that quiz is going to help you identify what type of funnel is right for you. And by the way, for those of you who have taken this quiz, go ahead and post your results, your answer, if you remember what your type was. Was it CSQF? Was it ECQF? What was your quiz result? Take a moment to post it inside the comment thread right now on this page. So we've covered what an old funnel looked like, what a new funnel looked like. We went through dozens of examples. I even took a moment to share a little bit about my personal story. My story is very simple. I started, like all of us start, from ground zero. My first month in business, I made $370. This is back in 2008. Within 18 months, I was making $24,000 a month. Within 3 years, I was making over $117,000 a month. And I did it by entering all these different weird niche markets, 23 of them to be exact. Scrabble tile jewelry, orchid care, memory training, and more. And the process that I used to enter every single one of these markets was using the power of a quiz funnel. From there, I began teaching how to use quiz funnels in your business and built an Inc. 500 company, most recently named the number 50 fastest growing education company in the entire country. From there, we built a software technology company now used by over 30 million people worldwide, a technology that is called Bucket.io. All said and done, in the last few years, we've made over $45 million using the power of quiz funnels, and it's a story that's been chronicled and told in all sorts of media around the world, from the Wall Street Journal to Harvard Business Review to Entrepreneur, Los Angeles Times, USA Today, Inc., Forbes, on NBC News, Fox Business News, and more. But much more powerful and more important than my story are the stories of total quiz funnel newbies that we took a look at in our first day together. People like here, People like Linda Basso, who is a ClickFunnels newbie who launched her quiz and generated her first 249 leads in less than 14 days. People like Jennifer Lee, who generated over 11,948 leads, doing it from her she shed in her backyard, making over $5,000 in her first 3 months. People like Greg Lee, who when his business was shut down with COVID, his brick and mortar business was shut down with COVID, he turned to a ClickFunnels to generate $17,000 a month in new revenue for his business, allowing him to keep his doors open, all because of a ClickFunnels. And people like Brian Dixon, who built his membership to over 4,000 members of recurring revenue in his membership using the power of a ClickFunnels. And people like Adriana Dakin in the nonprofit space, building quizzes for nonprofits and charitable organizations and causes that she believes in, publishing 3 client quizzes in 1 day, getting incredible results, tripling the results that her client expected to get in 6 months in less than 3 weeks. And even people like Del Scheel, a retired Lutheran pastor, 65 years old, no experience, no prior technological or marketing experience with ClickFunnels, launching his very first ClickFunnels to help his wife, Diane, sell over $1.2 million in real estate from his very first quiz. So we've covered dozens of examples from all sorts of different markets. We also answered the question that I know a lot of you have been asking, which is a ClickFunnels right for you? And we talked about all the different ways to find out if a ClickFunnels is right for you, including the 6 ways to know. Like, for example, if you sell multiple products. If you sell multiple products, is a ClickFunnels right for you? The answer is yes. If you sell a single product or service that can help people in different situations, the answer is yes, a ClickFunnels is right for you. We talked about if you are helping people in different challenges, in different struggles or different obstacles that they run into, then a ClickFunnels is right for you. We talked about if you help people in different situations, like teachers and parents or beginners and experts, then a ClickFunnels is right for you. We talked about if you help people at different stages of a journey, people who are just getting started, people who are in the middle of their journey, people who are further along in their journey, the answer is yes, a ClickFunnels is right for you. We even talked about if you're just getting started, how a ClickFunnels can be the best way to start your business if you are literally beginning at ground zero. We also talked about the 5 types of businesses for whom a ClickFunnels is a good fit, beginning with if you sell physical products like e-commerce, books, or health-related products. If you sell digital products like courses, membership, or SaaS. If you're using a ClickFunnels to get clients for your coaching business, consulting business, agency, if you're a freelancer. We talked about if you are a local business, whether that's a local service provider like a real estate agent, an insurance agent, a financial advisor, or something similar, or if you got a brick and mortar business and what that looks like. We covered, in addition to that, we covered if you are looking to just generate leads, whether they're leads in the B2B market or B2C market, and using your ClickFunnels to sell those leads to others. In addition to that, we also talked about the 5 big outcomes, the 5 big outcomes that you can send people to after they take your quiz and how you actually monetize all that traffic. Beginning with if you're starting from ground zero, or maybe your goal isn't to sell anything, but your goal is to build your audience, you can get people to just join your list, join your group, join your community. If you sell a product that's in the tens of dollars or hundreds of dollars or less, you might get people to buy your product right away. If you sell a product in the hundreds of dollars, you might get people to watch your sales video on the back of your ClickFunnels. If you sell a product in the thousands of dollars or service, you might get people to attend your webinar after they take your quiz so that you can talk about your product or service. And last but not least, if you sell something in the tens of thousands of dollars, you might get people to book an appointment with you and get on the phone with you and have a conversation after they take your quiz. We even talked about the 3 fastest paths to cash, the 3 fastest paths to cash. And if you missed what we covered in our first session, we talked about 3 of the fastest paths to cash if you are a complete beginner on how to cash in on this opportunity as quickly as possible. Beginning with option number 1, the pre-launch quiz, option number 2, the affiliate quiz, and option number 3, the quiz for clients angle. And we talked about dozens of people who have used each of these processes. The pre-launch quiz, if you're starting from scratch and you've got absolutely no product, no business, well, the thing that will set you up for success is to have a line of people out the door waiting for you to launch your product, whether that's a new book, whether that's a new membership, whether that's a new program, whether you're looking to get certified or to graduate from the program that you're in right now and have a line of people out the door. It's exactly what Jamal did. Launched a quiz, got 10,000 people to take his quiz, was able to launch his membership to these 10,000 people and go from $17 an hour to making $500,000 in his first year. Why was he able to do it? Because he had a line of people out the door. He had a starving crowd waiting for him to open up his doors. And this is the same strategy that people in all sorts of different markets are using, like Lynette, generating her first sale ever. Linda, generating her first 3 sales, $2,700 in less than 10 days. Elisa, first 9 sales in less than a week. Second option we talked about, fastest path to cash, is the affiliate quiz, where instead of creating your own product, you just find somebody else's product online, take a few of the best-selling products in a product category, create a quiz that routes people to the best product for them based on their results, and you are done. In fact, we shared examples of people using this exact strategy. People like Neil Gordon, who launched a quiz, "What's your public speaker type?" Launched a quiz that you see right here, asked people their specific situation, and on the back of this quiz was able to go from driving for Lyft to now making over $100,000 a month in his business. Why? Because he's got a quiz funnel that over 10,000 people are taking every single month. We even talked about quizzes for clients, doing the process, creating a service where you're actually doing quizzes for other people, and how people in our community in all sorts of different places, all levels of experience, all countries around the world, using this to get their first client ever, to get client after client, creating quiz funnels for them. I even talked about my own personal path on how I did this along the way using a 55-5 model, charging anywhere from $15,000 to $50,000 to build one of these quiz funnels, plus a $5,000 a month retainer for ongoing maintenance of the quiz funnel and ongoing optimization, plus a 5% royalty on the gross sales of the results that we generated, meaning for every $100 that I would help a client make, the client would toss me $5 my way. Well, you make your client enough $100 bills, those $5 bills start to add up. You can see here, here's an example of just one funnel generating $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month using this process. Or another funnel generating $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month using this model. And how people like Marvin, 61 years old, Marvin Leventhal, no prior experience, learned this process, learned this skill, decided to come out of retirement to do this for other people, and now is charging thousands of dollars just to build quiz funnels for other people. We even talked about the 3 psychological forces. Who remembers what they were? This is one of your biggest takeaways from the session yesterday, on Monday, I should say. The 3 psychological forces that we talked about. The force of self-discovery, the fact that it doesn't matter what market you're in, the thing that people care about more than anything else is themselves. And when you offer people the promise to discover something about themselves, it's an irresistible promise. We talked about the power of micro commitments and how by taking people along one tiny little baby step at a time, you're able to create action-taking momentum. Instead of scaring people away, instead of eliciting that fight or flight response by asking for too much too soon, you move people along one tiny little baby step at a time by asking a simple series of non-threatening multiple choice questions in the form of a quiz. We even talked about this one right here, attract, diagnose, prescribe, the 3-step process that every successful quiz funnel follows. Attract the right people in your world, diagnose their situation so that you can prescribe the best next step for them instead of selling in a one-size-fits-all way. This is what everybody wants, to be spoken to as an individual. This allows you to do it at scale. This allows you to have that same one-on-one conversation that you might be having with someone in person across the table, but do it with tens of people, hundreds of people, thousands of people every single week on autopilot, doing it in the form of a quiz funnel. So we talked about all of that. Now, by the way, if you want to get my notes like this that you're seeing right here, if you missed them from yesterday and saying, hey, I'd love to get these notes, just go to the link quizfunnel.com/text after this training is over, and I'll text you every single one of these notes. We've covered dozens of examples. And by the way, when you catch up on last session's training, you bear with me one second, you just come to me. When you catch up on last session's training, you're going to see a screen that looks a little something like this. You'll know it's last session's training because I'm wearing a different shirt. Today I'm wearing the blue shirt. on day one, I was wearing the red shirt. You can see here, so different shirt, different day. You'll want to make sure that you click on this link down here, 19 proven quiz funnel templates, to see dozens of examples of all sorts of businesses at all levels in all sorts of different markets and the results that they've gotten, whether it's selling books like Beverly here or selling, like in Maston, whether you're selling a physical product like Buck here, whether you are creating a quiz to sell your digital product or digital program, like Aurelian here, who went from an offline business to online on the power of his quiz funnel, or people like Gabby Rast and her husband Thomas in the horse market having success with their quiz, Jennifer Lee, whom we talked about a moment ago, in the quilting market, and dozens of different examples. I encourage you to go through this, be inspired, get excited, and by the way, don't get hung up on the individual questions that each person uses in their quiz. That's going to vary from quiz to quiz. Instead, focus on the big picture. We're going to get into all that, don't worry. I just don't want you to jump too many steps ahead. Focus on the big picture and the flow that every single one of these quiz funnel follows. We come back to me. All right, so we've talked about 6 ways to know if a quiz is right for you, the 5 types of businesses, 5 ways to convert quiz leads into customers. We talked about the 3 fastest paths to cash, the 3 psychological forces, and I invite you to go back and watch session 1. And by the way, if you want to know how to access that after this training is over, just go to the thumbnail at the top. You click on this thumbnail right here. You'll see it at the very top. I'm going to hit the refresh button on this page and hit the pause button. You see this thumbnail at the top, number 1, that will take you to yesterday's session, and you'll be able to catch up on anything that you've missed. All right. Coming back to me here, there's one last thing that we talked about yesterday, and it's one that has yielded a bunch of questions and conversations, and I want to go into a little bit more detail around it. And it's this idea that a quiz funnel is effective because of 3 reasons. 3 big reasons why a quiz funnel is effective. We talked about these reasons yesterday, but today what I want to do is I want to talk about this from a new angle, from a different perspective. From a perspective that we have not yet talked about, and that is to explore the profit potential of a quiz funnel in your particular business, in your particular market. So if you remember yesterday on day 1, we talked about how quizzes can give you incredibly cheap leads. Reason number 1 why quizzes are so effective, incredibly cheap leads. Like in this case here, Maston Kip went from $6 a lead to 76 cents. Beryl Young, $1.67 to 14 cents. And here, Sean Penrod, $2.59 to 23 cents per lead. We talked about the second big reason why quiz funnels are so effective, and that is incredibly high conversion. Because you can customize your copy and your offer, you can often double or triple your sales conversion rate. Makes sense, right? Someone takes your quiz, you can customize the messaging that you put in front of them, so it only makes sense that it's going to convert better than selling to everybody in a one-size-fits-all way. Like this example here, Andy Mackinson went from $3,300 a month to $10,928 a month on the back of his quiz. I mentioned Gabby and Thomas Rast in the horse market from $10,000 a month to $22,000 a month, and Janine Samuels in the cheerleading market, $126,000 to $238,000 a year on the back of a quiz funnel. And then we also talked about reason number 3, incredibly fast results. This is not one of these strategies that takes forever to see results. You can get results in less than 30 days, typically 5 to 25 times faster than traditional methods of growing your audience, growing your list, growing your business. In fact, you can see here, Janine Alley shared her story. She spent 2 years doing a podcast every single week. 2 weeks of podcasting. She launches her quiz. 16 days later, after launching her quiz, she's gotten more results in 16 days than she did in 2 years of doing her podcast. You can see here, just 16 days, over 370 leads and 3 clients, 16 days after launching her quiz. And you can see her results right here. I shared Dr. Tangi Watkins' story. She launched her quiz in less than 30 days, made $20,850 because she had a line of people out the door waiting for her to open up the doors to her new program. I even shared the story of Luis Carlos and his wife Gabby getting over 1 million people to take their quiz in less than 10 days. And this represents just a few of the many examples of people who are doing this. Now, I mentioned that I wanted to talk about the profit potential of your quiz. This is something new. We did not talk about this on day 1. So for those of you who have joined us on day 1, you've gotten the recap, you've gotten caught up to where we are now. And what we're going to talk about is something new that we have not yet touched on, which is the profit potential of your quiz. And so for those of you who like to geek out a little bit about the numbers, I think you're going to like this next segment right now. So I mentioned 3 big reasons why a quiz funnel is so effective. Cheaper leads, higher conversion, faster results. But now let's take a look at what that actually means in terms of real numbers and what the profit potential, the income potential is with a single quiz. Now to do that, we're going to use a utility, a tool, a custom application that we built that I'll share with you when we're through with this session, which is a calculator. A calculator to determine what this opportunity is for yourself and in your business. So let's take a look at what this calculator looks like here. Now at the top of this calculator, you'll see a video here from me explaining how this all works, but what I want to draw your attention to and focus on is this section here in the middle. The section here in the middle represents 3 areas, and I want to walk you through how to use this calculator so you can play around with it after this session is over and walk you through a few scenarios to show you the power of a quiz funnel in action. So we talked about the 3 reasons why quizzes are so effective. Reason number 1, right here, cheaper traffic. Reason number 2, faster results. Reason number 3, higher conversion. So let's take a look at what that means in some real numbers. And to do that, we're going to start with a baseline scenario. And let's pretend for a moment that you are selling a $50 product. So you can change whatever price point you are selling at. You can put that in this field right here to determine your profit potential for a quiz. But let's just put this number in right here. So we'll start with $50. Now, I'm looking at these numbers right here. We'll assume for the purposes of this market that your cost per lead is $2.50 per lead. How do we come up with your cost per lead? Well, remember, the way we come up with your cost per lead, and we talked about this the other day, is as follows. If you spend, let's say, you spend $100 on advertising, and that could be any form of advertising. It could be $100 in a newspaper ad, $100 on radio, $100 on Facebook, $100 on YouTube, $100 on Google, $100 on Instagram, $100 on LinkedIn, $100 on Pinterest, $100 on Twitter. Doesn't matter. Any channel that you spend money on, you spend $100. And let's say, for example, if you get 100 leads to sign up for your quiz on the back of that $100, your cost per lead, what we call your CPL, cost per lead, equals $1 per lead. If you get with that same $100, 200 leads to sign up for your quiz, your cost per lead in this case is here. All you math geniuses, anyone know the answer to this question? It's going to be 1/2 this cost. It's going to be 50 cents per lead, 50 cents per lead. So you can see how this works. And if you generate 50 leads from this same $100, your cost per lead, in this case here is $100 divided by 50, which in this case here is going to be a total of $2 per lead. So you can see the better you get at driving leads into your business, the less expensive it becomes, and the more people you get to communicate with, the more you get to market. Now, I like to say this, one of my mentors once taught me that leads are the lifeblood of every business. You don't got any leads, you don't got a business. You've got to have leads. And so a quiz funnel is arguably the single most effective way to generate cheap, highly qualified leads online. So let's take a look. Let's say in this fictitious example that you are getting a cost per lead of $2.50. Let's say that you're getting $10 per lead, and let's say that your sales conversion rate is 5%. What that means is for every lead that goes through your quiz, you're converting 5% of them into a customer. So 100 people go through your quiz, 5 of them eventually become a customer. By the way, these are all reasonable baselines to start with. This number here is going to vary from market to market, but these are reasonable baselines to start with. To put things in perspective, this number right here at 5%, in my orchid business, Orchids Made Easy, we convert 14% of people who go through our quiz into one of our paid products. So 5% is a pretty conservative number, especially if you're selling a lower price point product, like at this $50 level. But let's take a look at this. So in this example right here, this is before you do a quiz. This is the baseline. Before you do a quiz, let's say these are your results that you're getting. $2.50, 10 leads per day, 5% sales conversion. Take a look at these numbers. Every single month, you're making $760 in revenue, but because of your cost, your advertising cost to generate leads, you're making $0 in profit. So you're not really making any money that's going into your pocket at the end of the day. But let's take a look at what can happen when you use a quiz funnel. Let's say that on the lower end of our assumptions, you're able to cut your cost per lead by 30% cheaper. you're able to say grow, let's say 5 times faster. So in other words, instead of getting 10 leads a day, you're able to get 50 leads a day. And last but not least, you're able to double your sales conversion rate. And the reason for that, again, is because you're customizing the copy, content, and offers that you put in front of people. Well, you can see it right here. Take a look at the results. Instead of making $0 in profit per month, you're now all of a sudden making $4,942 in profit per month. Now we are in business. Now let's say that you're somewhere in the middle range of what is possible here. Let's say, for example, that instead of doing a 30%, let's say that we do, I don't know, let's say 50% cheaper. Instead of doing 5x the volume, let's say you're doing 10x the volume. And instead of, we'll leave this one right here at 5%. Let's say that you're still doing 2x conversion on the back of your quiz. Well, let's take a look at the numbers right here. We look at these numbers. All of a sudden now you're making $11,406 per month, and we make that on an annualized basis per year. Now you're in the money. Now you're making $136,000 a year on a single quiz funnel. And by the way, the numbers that I'm giving you here are realistic. Remember, we shared examples. People like Maston cutting his cost per lead by almost 90%. Sean in the marathon running market cutting his cost per lead by more than 90%. Beryl in the photography market doing the same thing. I shared with you the story of Luis Carlos and his wife Gabby. They did far more than 10xing their volume on the back of their quiz. They did like 1,000x their volume. So these numbers are realistic. All right, let's take a look at another scenario. Let's say we'll put these numbers back to 0 here, and let's say instead of selling a $50 product, for those of you who are maybe in a different kind of business, let's say that you are selling, and I'll put this back per month, let's say that you are selling a $1,000 program. It could be a consulting gig, it could be a digital course, it could be a boot camp, it could be something that you sell for $1,000. Let's take a look at some of these numbers here. Let's pretend for a moment that because of the market you're in, cost per lead is way more expensive. Your cost per lead, say, is $50 per lead in this business. Let's say you're still getting just 10 leads a day, and let's say because you're selling a higher end product here, your sales conversion rate isn't 5%, it's half that. It's 2.5%. Now, I want to be clear, this sales conversion rate is based on leads. It's not based on the number of people who see your Facebook ad. It's not based on the number of people who see your website. It's based on the number of people who take your quiz. If someone's gone through all the steps of taking your quiz, what we're saying here is if you get 100 people to take your quiz, you convert 2.5 of those people into customers. Let's take a look. Well, in this current baseline scenario with these numbers right here, you're actually losing money. Every single month, you are negative $7,604. You are losing money in this scenario. But let's take a look at how just a few simple tweaks by using a quiz funnel can change the game forever. So let's take a look. On the low end of the spectrum, let's say that you're able to get 30% cheaper on your cost per lead. You're able to, let's say, in this case right here, you're able to 2x your conversion. So you're able to get 2x the conversion that you were getting before, and you can see how this changes. Look at this. You go from negative $7,604 per month to now $4,562 positive profit per month. And now you're saying, you know what? Now that I'm seeing results, now that you're getting some income, now that you're getting some profit in, you're going to turn up the heat. You're saying, this is working. I've created this machine that generates leads and customers and clients and income every single day. So I'm going to start spending a little bit more money. I'm going to turn up the heat. So you decide to push the envelope. And instead of just getting 10 leads a day, you say, you know what? I'm going to push it. I'm going to 10x my volume, and now I'm going to get 100 leads a day. Take a look at how it changes the equation. Now, all of a sudden, you're doing $45,000 a month in profit. And when we take a look at the numbers right here, and we go on a yearly basis, check it out. This is how you build $1 million quiz. $1.8 million $547,000 in profit at the end of the day. That's money that goes in your pocket. By the way, nobody talks about profit. Everyone talks about revenue. This is money that goes into your pocket at the end of the day. And this is exactly how every single one of the examples that I've shared with you have used this process to scale their business. Like Charlie Wallace in the guitar market going to $2.2 million a year, doing exactly what I just showed you. People like Buck Risby doing $12 million a year on the back of his quiz, doing what I just showed you. Andy Mackinson doing $24.2 million a year on the back of his quiz, doing what I just showed you. But if we dial it back for a minute and go right back to our baseline numbers, I want to put these numbers back because I know for some of us it's still a little bit unbelievable that this is even possible. Let's take a look at these baseline numbers. If we start where we started, here at a 5% conversion rate, again, doesn't take a whole lot, doesn't take too many tweaks when you're starting out to go back to where we are by simply cutting your cost per lead, going from literally making no money at all, $0 in profit, using the old way, the old funnel, the traditional way of selling online, to then switching over to a quiz funnel using this process, saving 30%, being able to 10x your volume, as you can see right here, and doubling your conversion rate. Again, all on the low end of the spectrum of what's possible, and you can see here, you go from $0 to $9,885 a month. I know many of you here, your goal is the same as my goal when I first got started, which was to make $10,000 a month. This is it. It's a path right here. These are the numbers. This is exactly how you do it. And for those of you wondering, this is the exact path that every single one of the beginner stories that I shared with you is doing it right now. Janine Alley, 3 clients in just 16 days right here. You can see here, Jennifer Lee, 11,948 leads in less than 3 months. Dr. Tangi Watkins, $20,850 in less than 3 days. This is it. Now, by the way, if you would like to get your hands on this calculator to play around with it, let me know in the comments by typing the word calculator inside the comments. And if enough people say that they're interested in this, maybe we'll make this link available a little bit later on today. So type the word calculator inside the comments. Oh, and by the way, if you've had a takeaway, if there's been a nugget that you've taken away from this little segment, make sure that you use #nugget. #nugget to earn points, to participate, and to also consolidate your learning on everything that you're picking up from this process along the way. I'm just gonna take a moment to check in on how we're doing online and see what is going on as I hit the refresh button right here. Bear with me one second as I hit the play button. I love it. Boom. Olivia says nugget, quiz funnel, and bam, I reached my goal. Calculator says Robert. Melissa says calculator. This is awesome. How do you refresh the comments without refreshing the whole page? It's a Facebook limitation. Unfortunately, you do have to hit the refresh button on the page, but this is great. I love it. Monica says focusing on improving each of the numbers. Great. Lots of this. Who else is seeing how powerful this calculator tool is? Marion says me. Karen says quiz calculator. This is awesome. This is great. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. So yeah, you can build quizzes that generate anywhere from a few $1,000s a month to hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. There's really no ceiling. That's the takeaway. There's no ceiling to what's possible, whether you want to build a business that makes you $10,000 a month, which was my big goal coming into this space, or tens of millions of dollars a year. What we've been able to do in our business today and what dozens of other students have been able to scale their business to as well. All right, so we've talked about the quiz calculator. We've talked about why quizzes. We've talked about how different businesses have scaled. We've got one last thing we're gonna do before we start getting into the work and doing our first activity and exercise here today. And that is, I wanna show you some of the people behind these quizzes to show you what's possible based on where you are right now and where you wanna go. So with that being said, at the end of the day, why quiz funnels? Well, it all comes down to this. Not only do quiz funnels help you better sell, but they most importantly help you better serve your market. You win, of course, but even more important than that is that fact that your customer wins. Like the example I shared on Monday, Dana Abraham, who launched a quiz in the parenting market, generating 10,000 leads in 14 days, $1 million in less than 12 months, and having people say that they have had their lives change because of her quiz. And what I'd love to share with you now is a few more stories of people whose lives have been completely changed so you can get inspired and excited about what's possible for you in your business and in your life. So let's check it out.
I'm Dr. Michelle Gordon, and I help women transcend the symptoms of menopause.
I am a real estate coach.
I help Brazilians improve their American accent.
I help working moms create greater work-life balance.
I help artists from all over the world create online profitable businesses.
I help runners run faster marathons.
I help art teachers curate powerful connections to art.
I help people learn English through immersion.
I help first-time homebuyers with low credit ratings.
I help musicians boost their performance and improvisation skills.
Today, my company is pretty great.
I have a high six-figure, getting ready to turn to a seven-figure real estate coaching business.
Things were really, really good.
I got everything I wanted.
I've been able to take off over 180 days.
We're creating a steady, consistent business model.
I actually have a business now.
But trust and believe it was not always like that.
Doing whatever I can just to find something, how to make something work.
There was no way that I could keep up this pace.
I was kind of discouraged.
I was ready to say, this is hard.
Things weren't really going anywhere.
My well of leads had dried up.
I was having trouble growing the business, growing the company.
My ideas were completely failing me.
I thought I had followed the path perfectly, putting all the pieces in the right order, but I was wrong.
0% success.
I was burned out, I was pissed off all the time.
I quickly burned through all of my savings and ended up having to sleep in my car. There was one thing that kept me motivated during all that time, and as corny as it might sound, it was this.
I started looking on the internet, I found the Ask method.
And I ended up finding my way into the Ask method and showing up at Ask Live, and it resonated very deeply with me.
I read Ask on the plane and in the hotel room, so I would have some clue what was going on at the event.
And for the first time, I heard someone talking about segmentation and buckets.
And that's when everything started to shift for me.
And it was just what I needed. I was so pumped.
I was on the edge of my seat, scrambling to fill my notebook with pure gold.
I have had almost 10,000 moms go through a quiz that has led them to a webinar that currently converts at 16%, you guys.
I've gone from 200 leads and 0 sales to 1,800 leads, 12 sales, and knowing that I'm going to get where I want to go.
And this is the first time ever I could actually say, this is actually what I do. We ended up impacting over 3,600 families.
I gathered my first 10,000 plus leads in Bucket in less than 8 months.
Held my very first 3-day art biz workshop.
Built an email list of over 2,600 contacts. I got like 900 leads in 2 weeks.
I just hit the 1,000 lead mark.
I've got an audience of over 10,000 Instagram followers.
20 leads a day to 233 leads a day.
We've been able to add an additional $102,000 in revenue to our business.
I was able to sell 9.6 million.
$40,000 in revenue in 1 month.
So I have this funnel at the moment where I invest €1.5 and getting €7 back. As
of right now, I'm over $18,000 in recurring revenue in my business.
The Ask method has made me $132,946.
So by now you've heard from dozens of people who are using this process. People like, as we've seen, Jamal, who've used this process to go from $17 an hour to $500 a year. Dr. Tangi Watkins, over $20,000 in her first month. Neil Gordon, over $100,000 a month. And our community right now is literally filled with people who are going from ground zero, generating their first 60 opt-ins, their first 220 leads, their first 100 opt-ins, their first 246 leads, 10 days to get their 100th lead, 100 leads, 1,000 leads in just a few short days. Over here launching their first quiz that they were dreaming about launching for years, and over 1,000 leads in just a few short days. But the question is this: why aren't more people getting results like the ones that you see here? Well, it all comes down to 5 big mistakes. And what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about what these mistakes are, how to avoid making them, and one of the mistakes is skipping ahead, because I see some of you here saying, gosh, like, what about this, what about that? You're like on step 17 of the process before we've even started on step 1. So let's begin by talking about these 5 big mistakes, beginning with mistake number 1. And so if you're taking notes, I encourage you to take notes alongside me, because we're going to go through this process and what to do, how to create your very first quiz, and how to get started beginning with making sure that you avoid making these 5 biggest mistakes. All right, so 5 biggest mistakes. Take a moment, I'll write these down. We're going to go through this process. These are mistakes that I'm seeing people make right now. They're mistakes I'm seeing people make in the community, frankly, when I see people post. They're mistakes that I see people make when I see quizzes out in the wild, and I have to cringe a little bit when I see what they've done, and when I find out that people aren't getting results that they were hoping to get. It's no surprise to me, because these mistakes are mistakes I see people make all the time. So 5 biggest mistakes, beginning with mistake number 1, which is using the wrong tool for the job. What do I mean by that exactly? I came across this image recently, and it made me smile, made me laugh. This person here working so hard to make a hole in the wall of this building, but just using the wrong tool for the job. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen this happen. Look, it does not matter. You could be the best chef in the world, but if you don't have the right knife, if you're trying to use a spoon to chop those vegetables, you're going to be struggling. And I see this happen over and over again, where people are using the wrong tool for the job. They're using maybe a tool that they have access to, a tool that they've heard about, a tool that they maybe found someone else talk about somewhere in some forum, but it's not the right tool for the job. In fact, if you look at every single one of the examples that we've talked about here inside this workshop so far, one thing that they all have in common is that they all use the exact same technology to get these results. The technology for creating their quiz, the technology for building and laying out their entire funnel, the technology for tracking and analytics and integrations and all the advanced nuanced features that requires a specialized tool for the job. Now, I know you guys are curious. You're asking questions left and right inside the community. What is the technology? The technology is called Bucket.io, quizzes that convert. And a little bit later inside this workshop, I'm going to take you behind the scenes of this technology. I'm going to take you inside. I'm going to show you exactly how it works. I'm going to show you how to actually create the technical pieces of building your quiz. But here's the thing, guys. I know so many of you are just enamored and excited about the technology. We're going to get there. But before we can talk about the technology, we first need to start with the right strategy. And that's what we're focusing on here today, beginning with mistake number 2, which is the wrong process. So if we go back to our notes, mistake number 1 is using the wrong technology, the wrong tool for the job, just like that individual we saw a moment ago. But mistake number 2, just as egregious of a mistake, is following the wrong process. There's a process to creating these quizzes, and it's a process that, frankly, we've been implementing for the last decade plus in our business. It's what we do all day, every day. I have a team, an entire company of 65 employees that all we do all day, every day is quizzes and nothing but quiz funnels. So the process is something that we've spent the better part of a decade dialing in, and it looks like this. The wrong process. When you build a house, how do you build a house? You create and follow a blueprint, right? And if you create a blueprint and you follow that blueprint, you end up with a house that looks like this. Now, if you don't follow the right process, what ends up happening is you end up with a house that looks a little more like this. You have a staircase that leads to nowhere. Now, I have no idea what this builder was thinking when they created this, but I can't tell you how many times I see quiz funnels that follow this path. They build something that just does not make any sense, and it's because they skip steps in the process. They want to skip ahead. They think that having never done this before, that they know the process, but the reality is you've got to do the right things in the right order. So when it comes to building a quiz funnel, you got to create and follow a blueprint like you see right here. I'm a big believer in beginning organically, sketching things out. That gives you the freedom to draw things out. This is us in our offices here in Austin working on an actual quiz funnel. You can see it right here, getting creative. But the moral of the story and the takeaway I want to leave you with is that every successful quiz funnel follows the same blueprint, follows the same process. This is the process, and you want to write this down. Every quiz funnel begins with a step that we call welcome. The welcome step is designed to attract the right type of people to your quiz. The next thing that we have is what we call a series of questions, ending with lead capture, which is designed to diagnose the person's situation. Last but not least, we have a step that is the outcome that we deliver based on a person's quiz results. And this is where we prescribe the best next step for them. In marketing terms, in marketing speak, we call this the hook. The hook is the thing that attracts the right type of people into your quiz in the first place. The questions serve as the bridge between the hook, where your market is right now, where your prospective customer is right now, and your offer, which is the thing that you want to sell people. I like to think about it like this. If you remember the movie Indiana Jones, remember that rope bridge where there are two groups of people on either side of the bridge? You've got your market on one side of the bridge, the group of people that you want to sell to. And then you've got yourself on the other side of that bridge. And in between the two of you is this canyon. Well, we use the questions as that bridge that connects both sides. And we get our audience, we get our market to take one tiny little baby step at a time to cross that bridge, to go from where they are now on their side of the canyon to where you are right now, which is buying your product or service, or taking that next step in your sales funnel. So this is what the process looks like in a nutshell. Let's take a look at how this maps to an actual real life example. So the welcome step might look a little something like this. This is the platform assessment created by Michael Hyatt. Michael Hyatt and his team worked with me and my team to create this platform assessment designed to figure out where you are in your platform's growth. Based on your results, Michael and his team ask a series of questions and then put in front of you an offer. In this case here, it's an offer from one of his paid programs. Now, this is the order in which your market, your quiz taker, experiences the quiz. However, it's not the order in which you build your quiz. You actually want to build your quiz in a very specific order. Any guesses on where you begin? Type in the comments, type in the chat. Where do you think you begin in this flow? The way you begin is as follows. You actually begin with your offer. You want to begin with the end in mind. Excuse me. In fact, this is the reason why yesterday, if we go to our notes here, this is why yesterday we talked about getting clarity on what it is that you think you might sell on the back of your quiz. You want to begin with the end in mind. Remember, we talked about, are you going to be selling a physical product, a digital product? Are you going to be getting clients, doing a local business, lead generation? Are you looking to do a pre-launch quiz to build your list so that you can launch your product to a starving crowd, a line of people waiting out the door? Are you doing an affiliate quiz, selling someone else's product as an affiliate, or are you creating a quiz for a client? So getting clear on what it is, what your offer is, that's where we begin, step one. Step two is to create a hook that attracts the right type of people who are going to be a fit for that offer. And last but not least, we end with the questions, which is what connects those two pieces together. So going back to our notes right here, we have our first two mistakes. Mistake number one, the wrong technology. Mistake number two, the wrong process. And that takes us to mistake number three, which is the wrong offer. The wrong offer. So let's take a look at offer in more detail. So if we go to our mistakes on our notes, number three, the wrong offer. Wrong offer. So bear with me one second as I mark this up. The wrong offer. What do I mean by that exactly? Well, when we take a look at this step right here, the first step in creating your quiz, we need to begin with your offer. Now, before we talk about what makes a good offer, let's first talk about what is an offer. Well, an offer is this. An offer is the thing that you are putting in front of people, that you're inviting them to do, the next step you're inviting them to take after they go through your quiz. Is that next step going to be to join your list? Whoops. Is it going to be to join your list, join your group, or join your community? That could be your offer. Is it to buy your product? That could be your offer. Is it to watch your sales video? That could be your offer. Is it to attend your webinar? That could be your offer. Or is it to book an appointment with you so that you can have a conversation with them one-on-one? So that is what an offer is. Remember, the name of the game is to sell something to people who take your quiz. I'll say it again. The name of the game is to sell something to people who take your quiz. This is not building one of these time-wasting quizzes like you may have seen on a website like BuzzFeed.com. Now, we've talked about the fact that you can sell e-commerce, physical products shipped to your customers, digital products, courses, membership, software, client services. You could sell your local business services or products if you operate in a local geographic area. You could sell other people's products as an affiliate. Heck, you could even just sell the leads themselves. Get people to take your quiz and then sell those leads off. And we talked about how in some markets like real estate, you can sell leads for $50 to $500 a piece. In other markets like the franchising market, leads can sell for thousands of dollars or more. So you've got an opportunity to just generate leads if that's something that you wanted to do. Now, if you're in a situation right now where you're saying, I've got no products, well, no problem. You got no product, no problem, because you can use your quiz to create a pre-launch list if you're starting completely from scratch. And we've talked about this. This is exactly what Beverly Pushman is doing. Beverly is about to launch her book. She said, you know what? I'm going to start with the quiz. As I'm working on my book, I know my book is a few weeks away, it's a few months away, it's down the road, but I'm going to build a pre-launch list of people to sell my book to as soon as it goes live. In a matter of days, she got her first 100 people. In a matter of weeks, she got her first 1,000 people. Now, who do you think is going to have more success? The person who's working on the book in their little room all by themselves, writes the book, puts it out there and says, ta-da, my book is live, and there's nobody there? Or the person like Beverly who's built a line of people waiting out the door so that when she says, guys, the book is ready, she's got people lining up to buy it right now. So building a pre-launch list. That's exactly what Christine Abuel did here. She launched her coaching program, 1,900 leads, 29 people in her coaching program in just 3 months by building a pre-launch list. It's exactly what Dr. Tangi Watkins did. I've explained her story a few times here, $20,000 in her first month. It's how all the stories that I've shared with you of folks who launched right out of the gate have had success. All right, so that's what to offer. That's what it is that you're going to sell. The bigger question is, how do you present that offer? How do you present that offer in the back of your quiz? Well, there are 2 parts to every offer on the back of a quiz funnel, and they are as follows. First part is what we call Band-Aid. Second part is what we call Cure. Pay close attention to what I'm about to share with you because this is important. What's the difference between Band-Aid and Cure, and why is it relevant? Well, I want to invite you to think about a scenario. Right? I want to invite you to think about a scenario where you are watching a young child right now. All right, so you're babysitting a young child. It could be your own child, it could be a niece, nephew, it could be a neighbor's kid, whatever it may be, but you're watching a young child. They're playing outside, having a grand old time, hop on their bike, riding around in circles, riding the bike in the driveway, going round and round in circles, and all of a sudden the kiddo falls off the bike, skins their knee, runs inside, and says what? Mommy, I need a Band-Aid. Now, you're watching this kiddo and you know that the Band-Aid is not going to make the boo-boo feel better. But if you try to tell that kid anything else, they're not going to have it. So what do you need to do? You need to bend down on one knee and you can say, hey, sweetheart, I know it hurts. Let's put a Band-Aid on that. We'll make it feel better. And then when the tears dry off, when the screaming and yelling and crying goes away and the child is finally calmed down, what do you get to do? You say, honey, I know we put a Band-Aid on it, but if we really want to make this boo-boo feel better, you're going to need what? You're going to need a little medicine. Maybe you're going to need a little bit of ice. Maybe a little bit of Neosporin. But the Band-Aid alone is not going to make it feel better. So what does it have to do with anything? What does that have to do with you? What does it have to do with a quiz? What does it have to do with your market? Well, here's the thing. Your market is not walking around thinking that they need your cure, thinking that they need your medicine, thinking that they need your product. Your market is walking around just like that young kiddo thinking that the solution that they need is the Band-Aid. So let's take a look at what that means. Band-Aid versus Cure. In a quiz funnel, your quiz results deliver the Band-Aid, the thing that people think they need. And you do that for free. This is how you add value to people. This is how you give before you ask for something in return. Your offer delivers the cure. This is your paid product or service. Band-Aid, cure. People don't know that they need your cure. They think they need the Band-Aid. Let me share some examples of what I mean by that in action. So check it out. This is an example for those of you who are selling a product that is less than $100. All right, this is Bob. Anybody know Bob? I don't think so. Not very many of us will know Bob because Bob is not a famous person. He's just like us, regular guy. But Bob has a men's face wash and moisturizer. He's got a men's face wash and moisturizer that he sells for $57. Do you think people are walking around saying, you know what, I need Bob's face cream? No, nobody's even heard of Bob and Bob's face cream. Instead of trying to sell people this product right away, Bob has decided to meet people where they're at, to give them the Band-Aid, which is the question that they're asking themselves every single day, which is, what skincare mistakes am I making? So if you've got oily skin or dry skin or scaly skin, or you have acne or breakouts or eczema or any of these skin conditions and challenges that can pop up, the question people constantly ask themselves is, what mistake am I making? Am I using the wrong soap? Am I using the wrong kind of water? Am I using the wrong product? Am I spending too much time in the sun? Not enough time in the sun. What mistake am I making? Why is my skin having these issues? Band-Aid, cure. Give you another example. I think some of you here in the insurance space, you'll appreciate this example. This is Ricky Suleiman. Ricky sells a specific form of life insurance that sells for in the hundreds to thousands of dollars. And she has a quiz. What type of life insurance is right for you? Pretty straightforward, makes sense, right? She sells an obscure, esoteric form of life insurance that most people have never heard of, that she knows people aren't walking around saying, you know what, I need Ricky's insurance. So instead, she meets people where they're at and addresses the Band-Aid. What type of life insurance is right for you? Give you another example. This is Adrian Moreno. Adrian has a high-level fitness coaching program that he sells for thousands of dollars. And instead of trying to sell his program right away, because people don't know Adrian, they've never heard of him, they don't know what he does, he meets them where they're at. And he asks the question, what's your body's strength index? Take the quiz to find out now. It's a question that every gym rat's trying to figure out. How do I stack up against the guy next to me? Sure, I weigh 200 pounds, but how much should I be able to bench press? How much should I be able to squat? What is my body's strength index compared to people who are just like me? So what you're doing here is you're meeting people where they're at, and it all comes down to starting with the right offer. The right offer is made up of Band-Aid plus cure. That brings us to the next big mistake. The next big mistake in the process, if you bear with me 1 second, stay on the iPad here for just a moment. This is actually going to be mistake number 4. Mistake number 4 in our framework right here is to use the wrong hook. I'll write this down. The wrong hook. What do I mean by that? The wrong hook. The wrong hook is what attracts people to take your quiz in the first place. So every good quiz starts with an irresistible hook. In fact, when it comes to your quiz funnel, it's all about the hook. So what is the hook exactly? The hook is the angle, the unique idea, the irresistible promise that gets people to take your quiz funnel in the first place. It's what we call the big idea behind your quiz. And we're going to be getting to that in a little bit more detail in just a moment. In fact, that's going to be our first assignment here today. It's what we're going to be working on together. What we're going to be workshopping in a few minutes is how to come up with your big idea for your first quiz. So the wrong hook is mistake number 5. If we go to the iPad here, mistake number 5 is the wrong hook. And last but not least, we have our fifth and final mistake. Our fifth and final mistake is asking the wrong questions. Asking the wrong questions. So I'm going to take a moment to write this down. The wrong questions. Let's talk about questions in a little bit of detail. So the wrong questions. What do we mean by that exactly? Well, if we go back to our diagram here on the screen, mistake number 5, the wrong questions. Remember, your questions serve as the bridge between your hook, where your customer is right now, and your offer, what it is that you sell. Now, the process for coming up with your questions, which is going to be unique to you. Your questions are going to be different from the person next to you based on your quiz, based on your market, based on your business. All begins with the following. You begin by brainstorming your question structure. And again, I like to begin organically like this. Draw it all out. Draw out what this might look like. Then you map the individual questions to the possible outcomes as you see right here. Now, what I want to talk about here are a few best practices when it comes to asking questions in your quiz. And we're going to talk about the 5 questions that you always want to ask, 3 questions that you want to avoid, and the optimal number of questions to be asking in your quiz. So let's take a look at this, beginning with the 5 types of questions you can ask in your quiz. And I encourage you to take notes. By the way, remember, if you have any takeaways, any nuggets, use that hashtag nugget inside the chat. More you participate, more chances to win. More chances to win, the better you are going to consolidate this learning in your mind. First type of question that you want to ask is what we call a grease the wheels question. Grease the wheels question. Grease the wheels question. What is that? What does that mean exactly? Well, when people take your quiz, you want to begin with an easy to answer, simple, non-threatening question that doesn't scare people away. You don't want to begin with a big, hairy, scary question that's loaded with an emotional component to it that people are saying, whoa, I've never been asked that before. You want to start with a softball, an easy one to get the ball rolling. In the same way that if you were to meet someone for the first time ever, you're going to begin with a, hey, hello, how are you? You're going to greet them with a simple question. So examples could be, if you're in a business market, are you launching a new business or are you growing an existing business? If you're in the golf market, are you a right-handed golfer or are you a left-handed golfer? If you serve parents and teachers, you might say, are you a teacher or are you a parent? You want to start with an easy to answer, non-threatening question, oftentimes which is binary, choice A or choice B, to get the ball rolling and create action-taking momentum. So that's the first type of question that you want to ask. The next type of question that you want to ask is what we call diagnosis questions. Diagnosis questions, what does that mean? Diagnosis questions are specifically designed to diagnose a person's situation, like the doctor. So just like a doctor, you want to ask for information that allows you to prescribe the right next step. Remember our flow, every quiz funnel: attract, diagnose, prescribe. So you got to ask for enough information so you can give people a diagnosis. That's the second type of question. Third type of question, question number 3, is what we call demographic questions. Demographic questions are questions that you might want to ask to better understand your audience. You might want to better understand, for example, a person's gender, a person's age. You might want to better understand a little bit more about their household. Are they single? Are they married? And you want to make sure when you're asking demographic questions that they are relevant to your ability to serve that individual. So in other words, you might need to know a person's gender in order to serve them if you are in a medical profession, for example, because you need to know, is the person taking your quiz a woman going through menopause? Is it a man who is looking to have six-pack abs? What is the question or challenge that they're struggling with? Knowing a person's gender, knowing a person's age is going to help you with that information. So demographic questions is a third type of question that you can ask. Fourth type of question is what we call story arc questions. Story arc questions are questions that you ask in the scope of your quiz funnel that allow you to make your quiz funnel feel very conversational. They're not necessarily things that you're going to be using in the actual diagnosis, but they're questions to move the conversation along. You want to make your conversation, the questions that you're asking in your quiz funnel, feel just as if you were having a one-on-one conversation with people. So in some cases, you need to fill in some of the gaps with some story arc conversation so that it feels natural and has a natural flow to the conversation. Fifth and final type of question that you want to consider asking inside your quiz is what we call a lead capture question. Lead capture question is where you're asking for a person's contact information in exchange for giving them their quiz results. You always want to end with lead capture. You always start with grease the wheels, always end with lead capture, and these other 3 types of questions can be in the middle. So these are 5 types of questions that you want to consider asking in your quiz. That said, there are three I need to go a little bit bolder than that, types of questions that you absolutely want to avoid. 3 questions to avoid. 3 questions to avoid. And these types of questions are as follows, beginning with question to avoid number 1. You want to make sure that you avoid any sort of yes, no questions. This is a common mistake I see people make all the time. What's the big deal here? Well, the big deal is as follows. When you're taking people through a quiz funnel, you never want to get them to a place where they are invited to say no. Because what happens if you ask someone a question and their answer is no, and you ask them another question and their answer is no, and their next answer is no, 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 no? When you invite them and ask them to buy your product or service to take the next step, what embedded command have you planted inside their mind? What seed have you planted inside their mind? What are they going to say? They're going to say no. So you don't want to set yourself up for failure like that. You want to avoid yes/no questions in a quiz. Next type of question that you want to avoid are any sort of open-ended questions. remember, the purpose of this quiz, and by open-ended what I mean is a question where someone can type in an open-ended response. Why do you want to stay away from this? Well, remember, the purpose of this quiz funnel is to generate leads and customers. You don't want to create this friction point where people are typing in an open-ended response. Now, there's a place for that. That place happens when you're doing market research, when you're doing a survey, which you can do to all the people who have taken your quiz. But when you're doing a quiz funnel, you want to avoid open-ended questions. Not to mention that open-ended questions are actually harder to create and harder to craft in the first place. So open-ended questions is the type of question you want to avoid, number 2. And the third type of question that you want to avoid is any sort of question that is choose all that apply. Any sort of choose all questions or choose any of the more than one of the following. You want to avoid that because what that does is it prevents you from being able to rank the options. If someone says, if you invite someone to say, choose all the following colors that you like, and someone checks off all of them, does that tell you anything about that person? No, you have no idea what color backpack to put in front of them if you're selling a backpack if they say, I like all these colors, right? You want to give people the option to choose one thing and one thing only. The second big reason is when someone's taking your quiz, if they've got to choose all that apply, they've got to click a whole bunch of buttons. And every friction point that you introduce in your quiz creates a degradation of response, creates friction, and hurts your ability to convert those clicks into customers. So you want to keep it simple. So those are the 3 types of questions that you want to avoid. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is what is the optimal number of questions? The optimal number of questions when you are doing a quiz, and the reason why we know this, by the way, is because, again, we have access with my technology platform that's used by over 30 million people around the world. We've had over 12,000 quiz funnels built on our technology. So we have access to a tremendous amount of data. We know what works. We know what doesn't work. We constantly roll out best practices. We have an AI platform that is constantly updating the technology to do what is working right here, right now, in a way that no other technology is able to do, just based on the vast amount of data that we have on this one specific thing, which is building a quiz funnel. And what we found is that the most successful quiz funnels, one thing that they all have in common is the number of questions that they all have is somewhere between 5 and 12 questions. So between 5 and 12 questions is the sweet spot that you want to aim for. Between 5 and 12 questions. And the reason for that, why is that? I don't know for sure, but I speculate, my hypothesis is as follows. When you're taking people through a quiz funnel, you have to ask for enough information that your diagnosis is believable, right? Makes sense. If you go to the doctor and you say, hey doc, I hurt my wrist, what's wrong? And your doctor says, I've got one question. Is it your left wrist or your right wrist? And you say, it's my left wrist. And your doctor says, aha, I know exactly what it is. You're not going to believe them. Your natural reaction is going to be, how can you possibly know? You haven't asked for enough information. Well, you don't want to create that response when someone's taking your quiz. You want to ask for enough information that people feel understood, that they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel understood, where you've been able to demonstrate your empathy and understanding for their situation. But at the same time, you have to remember this is a marketing quiz. This isn't a quiz that someone's going to sit down and clear their calendar to take. They're probably going to be taking this quiz on their phone when they're either in bed, scrolling social media, they're at line at the bank, waiting for the next person in front of them, they're killing some time at a stoplight, they've got kids or family or cooking dinner or something else going on. It's got to be short, sweet, and to the point. So you can't ask for hundreds of questions because no one's going to sit through a quiz that does that. So 5 to 12 is the sweet spot when it comes to the right number of questions. All right, so we've talked about the right number of questions. We've talked about the 5 questions to ask, 3 types of questions never to ask. I want to hit the pause button right now. So far along the way, what's been your biggest takeaway that we've covered so far? You can use the hashtag takeaway inside the comment thread, takeaway, all caps, put it in square brackets if you want. Takeaway so far, biggest takeaway, as I take a sip of water before we get into our next order of business, which is coming up with the big idea for your quiz. So give me a chance to take a sip of water here, get my bearings, take a look and see how we're doing, make sure we're following along, that we're getting this, that this is all making sense. Type in the word takeaway as I hit the refresh button real quick. Refresh button hit. hitting the play button right here and see. Love it. Nugget, feel seen and heard. Seen, heard, and understood. Love it. Ask for enough. Questions that people feel seen and heard. Begin with the end in mind. Questions to avoid. 5 to 12 questions ideal. Great insight. Band-aid versus cure. It's AI-driven. Questions to ask. Yes, no. Avoid open-ended questions. 5 to 12. Love it, love it, love it. More to the point. Got to gather data on more options to serve my people fully. Absolutely. All right. Enough of this. Who's ready to figure out what the big idea is for your quiz? You ready to get your hands dirty? Ready to roll up your sleeves and get some work done? Well, that's what we're going to do right now. So if you haven't done so already, now is absolutely the time that you want to make sure that you've got your desk cleared, because we are going to get to work. We're going to talk about how to come up with the big idea behind your quiz. The big idea. It's what we call the hook. The hook, the thing that makes your quiz irresistible, the thing that makes it different, the thing that makes it stand out, the thing that attracts the right type of people to take your quiz. Once you've gotten clarity on your offer, what it is that you're selling, which we talked about in session 1, are you selling a physical product, digital product, are you selling a service, what are you selling on the back of your quiz, we now shift our attention to the hook. Every successful quiz funnel hook is made up of 2 parts. And those 2 parts are as follows. Part number 1 is what we call the quiz topic. Now, your quiz topic is going to be unique to you and your market. I'll give you some examples. This is Alexander. He is in the biohacking space. He sells a wearable, one-time use disposable energy patch. His topic is wearable energy patches. This is Tammy Lightsell. She's a certified professional coach. The topic for her quiz is female empowerment. This is Anne LaFollette. She is a surface pattern design artist. She has a quiz that helps people transform doodles into dollars. Her topic is surface pattern design. This is Tamara Mosley. She is a B2B corporate leadership consultant. She has a quiz topic, leadership development. This is Melinda Hurt. She's got a business, an e-com business called Dr. Locks for women who want to create dream hair through hair extensions. Her topic is hair extensions. This is Tony Fonderson in the UK. He is in the dating market. His topic is dating and relationships. This is Ann Wilson. She's a financial advisor in South Africa. Her topic is wealth management. This is Dr. Aaron Choi. He's a naturopathic physician. His topic is the metabolic reset. So you can see here that there are virtually an unlimited number of quiz topics under the sun. We could literally spend the rest of the day and come up with 1 million different possibilities. But the second part of the equation, which is what we call your quiz framework, the good news there is that there are only 3 to choose from. There are only 3 possible frameworks. And what we're going to do now is we're going to introduce each of those 3 quiz frameworks, and we're going to go through an exercise to help you figure out which one is right for you. So as I go through each of these, I want you to pay attention to which one do you think stands out the most as the one that you think is going to be the best fit for you and your business. So we got our 3, whoops, let me make that a little bit bigger, 3 quiz frameworks. 3 quiz frameworks. Beginning with framework number 1, 3 quiz frameworks. Let me write this down. We'll do it like this. 1, ooh, that's a little too big. Let's do it like this. 1, 2, 3. 3 quiz frameworks. Make that a little bit here. Boom. Beginning with framework number 1. 3 quiz frameworks. First quiz framework is what we call a type quiz. Now, a type quiz is a quiz that's designed to put people into different categories based on their type. Now, for each of these quiz frameworks, I'm going to both introduce what the framework is, share a few examples of each, but I also want to talk about the psychology behind why it is so effective and why it works the way it does. A type quiz. Why does it work? The psychology behind it is as follows. It's what we call the psychology of categorical perception. What does that mean exactly? What that means is that the way our brains make sense of the world is that we organize the world into different categories, into different buckets. For example, when we were young children, what do? We learn the difference between a cat and the difference between a dog. Then we learn that there are different types of dogs. You've got beagles and you've got pugs. And we learn to differentiate different things, and we put things into different categories. The funny thing is, we even do this when things exist on a seemingly infinite spectrum, like in the case of color. Color exists on an infinite spectrum, but the way your brain and my brain make sense of what you see on my screen right now is by categorizing these colors into different buckets. We see red, then we see orange, then we see yellow and green and blue and purple and pink. In other words, the way our brain makes sense of the world is by organizing things into different categories, even ourselves. We want to know what box we fit into. We want to know what our type is. It's the psychology behind why personality types are so effective. If you've ever taken the Enneagram test, are you a type 1 or a type 3 on the Enneagram test? If you've ever taken the 5 love languages test, what is your love language? If you've ever taken Myers-Briggs, are you ENTP or INTJ? We take these personality assessments to find out what our type is. And the reason for this is we like to have labels to describe ourselves. When we don't have labels to describe ourselves or our situation, it creates a tremendous amount of anxiety because we ask ourselves, am I just messed up? Am I the only person in the world like this? Or is there a term? Is there a name? Is there a label for this thing? And when that happens, it relieves a tremendous amount of anxiety. If you've ever had a mysterious illness and you've wondered, oh my gosh, am I dying? Only to find out when you go to the doctor's office that they say, oh, you're not dying, it's just what we call this. This happened to me in my life. When I hurt my wrist many, many years ago, I wondered, what the heck did I do wrong? Did I tear my thumb? Did I tear a ligament? Is it carpal tunnel syndrome? What did I do? And I learned that there was a specific term, a label for what I was struggling with, and it's called de Quervain syndrome. And I had this illness, and I had to have a procedure done to fix my thumb. It was fixed, and it was all better. So we like to organize things into different categories, even ourselves. Let's take a look at a few quiz funnel examples of this in action. Here's an example. What's your skin type? Created by Proactive Skincare. You can see here, what's my skin type? Attract, diagnose, prescribe. Using a quiz funnel to diagnose and prescribe the right type of skincare product for you. This is Neil Gordon. What's your public speaker type? We've taken a look at this one. Attract, diagnose, prescribe. And I've shared this with you already. On the back of this public speaker type quiz, Neil's been able to build a business that makes over $100,000 a month on the back of that quiz. Here's another example. What's your weight loss type? We talked about this one on session 1. Take the quiz to find out what your weight loss type is. Attract, diagnose, prescribe. Based on that information, prescribe the right weight loss supplement for you. On the back of this quiz right here, Buck Risby, you can see Buck right here, is generating over $7,000 a day in e-commerce sales. You've even taken a type quiz like this one right here. What type of funnel is right for you? So that's the first type of quiz, what we call a type quiz. And you can follow along by taking notes and do the same thing that I'm doing right now. Let's type it in. The first quiz framework is what we call a type quiz. Let's go here. Next quiz framework number 2 is what we call a killer quiz. Killer quiz is a little bit different. Killer quiz is where you're helping people identify the biggest mistake they're making in their life that's holding them back from getting the results that you want to deliver in your paid program or service. Now, why does this work? What's the psychology behind it? It has to do with what we call the psychology of loss aversion. Now, without getting into the details and geeking out too much about this, what that basically means in layman's terms is that fear of loss is greater than the promise of gain. Showing someone that they are making a mistake and the fear of the loss that that mistake could make is more powerful than the promise of gain. I'll give you an example of this right now. Let's pretend for a moment that you are a parent. If you are a parent, you can pretend very easily. Let's pretend you're a parent. You're scrolling on Facebook. You're scrolling on Facebook, and you see one of 2 possible ads. I want you to pay attention to which one is more compelling to you. Number 1, you see an ad, a post, and it says, "Attention parents. Click the link below to find out how to raise a well-adjusted child who will become a contributing member of society." Click the link below to find out now. That's option number 1. Option number 2, "Attention parents. The 5 biggest mistakes that parents make that screw their kids up for life." Click the link below to find out which of these mistakes you might be making right now. Which of those is more compelling? Well, if you're like most parents, you don't want to screw up your kids. Of course it's number 2. That's the fear of loss being greater than the promise of gain at work. Let's take a look at a few examples of killer quizzes in action. Here's a killer quiz. What's your number 1 retirement mistake? Are you really ready for planning for retirement? Or are you making one of these mistakes? Take this quiz to find out now. Attract, diagnose, prescribe. How about this one right here in the guitar space? Are you making one of these mistakes holding you back from playing the guitar? Attract, diagnose, prescribe. And by the way, this is Charlie Wallace. I shared his story a little bit earlier. This is Charlie right here on stage. Charlie, on the back of this quiz, went from living in the back of his van, struggling as a traveling musician, to now making over $2.2 million a year, teaching people how to play guitar on the back of this quiz. In fact, his story was so celebrated, he was recently named as one of Entrepreneur's top 10 entrepreneurs under the age of 30 because of this quiz funnel. And because of this quiz funnel, he was able to make enough income that he was able to fund his dream, which was launching a record album, which debuted at number 12 on the Billboard charts. Best-selling albums in the world. It's a heavy metal album. If you're into that type of music, you're going to love his stuff. All on the back of a quiz. Another example of a killer quiz in action, swing killers. Take the quiz to find out the biggest mistake you're making in your golf swing. Attract, diagnose, prescribe. By the way, this quiz right here, one thing that I don't know that I've shared with you already, on the back of this quiz, Jim and his team got a call one day from a little company called NBC that reached out to them and said, hey, we would be interested in buying your entire business. NBC reached out and said, we want to buy your business because we want to build an audience of golfers online for a project that we have in partnership with the Golf Channel, and bought this business for tens of millions of dollars. Why did they spend that kind of money? Because of the data that they got access to, the incredibly valuable data, an audience, a list of not just names and emails, but all these data points about these golfers. It became a very attractive proposition. So that's the second type of quiz, what we call a killer quiz. If we go to our notes here, I'm going to go a little bit bolder on this. A killer quiz is framework number 2. Pay attention. You want to be thinking about which one is right for you and your business as we go into this process. All right. Next quiz framework number 3 is what we call a score quiz. What's a score quiz? A score quiz is we're helping people evaluate what their score is on some type of success spectrum. Where are they? So if you help people on some type of journey of success, whether you are in a martial art and you help people identify their skill level in the martial art, yellow belt, red belt, brown belt, black belt. If you help people in a relationship market and you're helping people determine how ready they are for a long-term relationship. Now, why does a score quiz work so well? What's the psychology? Psychology here is what we call social comparison theory. Social comparison theory is really simple. We constantly compare ourselves to other people. Just how our brain makes sense of the world. We always want to know, how is it that she's more successful than I am? How is it that he's lost more weight than me? Why is it that I'm not further along in my career? We're constantly comparing ourselves. We're doing this because that's how our brain makes sense of the world. We look at how we're doing relative to other people. Examples in action include things like the real age test, popularized by Dr. Oz. Take the quiz to find out what your body's real age is. Attract, diagnose, prescribe. By the way, any guesses on how many people have taken this quiz? Post a link, post your guess in the comments. Any guesses on how many people have taken this quiz? I see 1 million people. I see 5 million people. 10 million people. Try this. 43 million people have taken this quiz funnel. 43 million people. Think about the power of that, having access to this type of information to serve and sell in your market. I'll give you another example of a score-based quiz. Dr. Tangi Watkins, I shared with you her story of how she started a quiz to launch her coaching practice. She was a physician, quit her job after COVID because she was on the front lines and wanted to change her career, launched her business with a quiz. Here's the quiz. Attract, diagnose, prescribe. What is your success alignment score? And you can see here, less than 30 days, 5,500 people taking her quiz, $20,000 a month on the back of this strategy. I'll give you another example, digital readiness score by Dev Basu. Dev has a marketing agency, created a quiz, how digitally ready is your business? Attract, diagnose, prescribe. And you can see his story right here. Grew his ad agency by over 150% in less than 1 year to become one of the top 5 growth companies in all of Canada in his industry. All right. So third type of quiz is what we call a score quiz. All right, now's the time to go to the comments. First thoughts, first guess. What type of quiz do you think makes the most sense for you? Type, killer, or score? type killer or store. Go ahead and in the comment thread, type in which one you think makes the most sense for you, for your business, and I want to see how we stack up as a group. How do we stack up as a group? So I'm going to invite you in the comment thread to type killer or score. So just like you see it here in my notes, type killer or score. Which one do you think might make the most sense for you and your business? Type killer, score. You're not committed to this. You're not making any long-term commitments. This is written in pencil. You can change it, but just your first guess. What are you thinking? It's going to get the juices flowing, get your ideas going. Let's see. We hit the refresh button right here. I'm looking here. Dila says type. Steve says killer. Carrie says type, excuse me. Licia says killer. Kathleen says killer. Sri says score. Danielle says type. Melissa says type. Mariana says type. Mina says score or killer. Becky says killer. Art says killer. Ice says score. Michelle Hartman says type. Thomas says killer. Karsten says type. William says killer. Peter says killer. Adrienne says killer. Patty says score. Denise says type. Javier says type. And Lorna taking a guess at how many people have taken this quiz. I love it. You guys are doing amazing here. So, first step in the process is to start brainstorming and thinking about what type of quiz might be right for you. Now, let's talk a little bit about your big idea and how you come up with it. Now that you've been introduced to the 3 quiz frameworks, now that you've been introduced to the beginning of this process, now let's talk about your big idea and the 3 steps that you want to take from here. The first thing that you want to do is, as we look at our 3 steps, is as follows. First thing that you want to do is you want to begin brainstorming your quiz topic. So you got to begin brainstorming your quiz topic. And I want to help you do that with a couple thought starters to kind of get things going. So this is the process we're going to be going through here today. This is going to be part of your homework to do and post inside the community tonight. Let's take a look at this right here. Beginning with, let me see if I can do this right. Beginning with step, that's a little too big. Let me make it a little smaller. Here we go. All right. Step 1. Which is, put it like this, brainstorming your topic. All right, so what's your quiz going to be about? What's the quiz topic? Well, let me give you a couple thought starters to help begin thinking about what your quiz might be about, beginning with this one right here. So if you're struggling to figure out what your quiz might be about, the first thing that you can think about is what is a question that people are always asking in your market? So this could be a question that you always get asked yourself. It could be a question that you see constantly getting posted inside of your communities that you're part of, whether it's your own communities or communities that you're a member of. What are questions that people are always asking about? I'll give you an example. In my market, people are always asking, what software should I use for X? Fill in the blank. It doesn't matter what it is. What software should I use for video? What software should I use for email? What software should I use for blank? So perfect opportunity there for you to create a quiz on any one of those topics. Next thought starter to begin thinking about what your topic might be about is what is something that people care about or are insanely curious about? What is something that people care about deeply or they are insanely curious about in your market? That could be a whole number of different things. I'll give you another example. What is, for example, another thought starter here that you can think about is what is something that is in the media right now in your market? So something that has a lot of media mention, something that is a hot topic that is happening all the time in media online. You're reading about it all the time. There isn't a day that goes by where there's another article about it in your industry, in your niche. What's something that is really hot right now in the media? We call this news jacking. So you're looking at what are some of the topics that are happening right now, and you're just going to ride that wave. You're going to ride that wave of what's popular right now in your market. Next up is number 4. What are some of the biggest myths and misconceptions in your market? So what are the things that are just big myths in your market that people are constantly getting wrong? Great opportunity to create a quiz about that thing. Do you really know what you're talking about when it comes to this? Take the quiz to find out now. And last but not least, what is something that offers a tremendous potential for loss, so the stakes are really high, or gain in your market? So what is something that people stand a lot to lose or they stand a lot to gain a lot in your particular market or your particular niche? There's a high degree of loss or a high degree of gain. The stakes are really high. I gave you that parenting. What is the single biggest mistake you might be making as a parent? The stakes are high, right? You don't want to screw that up. Estate planning mistakes. Make this mistake and your estate could be in disarray. Get this right and you will be able to have the peace of mind knowing that your heirs and your family is well taken care of. That's the first step in the process, is brainstorming your topic. Next step in the process is to brainstorm your framework. So let's take a look at this right now. So first things we want to do is brainstorm your topic. Then that goes to our next step in the process. Let me make that a little bit thicker. Next step in the process, and that is to brainstorm your framework. So step 2, brainstorm your framework. So remember the 3 frameworks that we've talked about. Brainstorm your framework. Which one might make the most sense for you? And you kind of took your first stab at this. We'll talk about this in a little bit more detail in a moment. 3 possible frameworks, and I'm going to give you a simple rubric that you can use to figure out which one's right for you. If you would naturally put people into different categories, maybe different categories based on the type of person that they are or the product that's right for them. Like for example, this backpack is right for you. What backpack is right for you? Well, this type of backpack is right for you. You might want to use a type quiz. So if you naturally put people to different categories, a type quiz might be a great fit. If you are naturally identifying a mistake that someone is making, like the parenting mistake I mentioned just a moment ago, then the killer quiz is a good option for you to consider. By the way, these are not hard and fast rules. These are just kind of guideposts to kind of give you some ideas to get started. And last but not least, if you help people on some type of journey of success, then you might want to use a score quiz, right? So what's your relationship potential? How are you marriage material? Take the quiz to find out now, right? You're helping people maybe find love, find the one that they are destined to be with. You might put people into a score-based quiz. So those are some guides right there. So step 1, you've brainstormed your topic. Step 2, you've now brainstormed your framework. And then that takes us to step 3. We're going to go through some live examples here in just a minute. Step 3, after we've done this, step 1, step 2, step 3, like this right here, is to then narrow things down into your top 4 ideas. So step 4, I can't talk and write at the same time. Step 3, Step 3 is your top 4 ideas. So again, what you're going to do is you're going to make a list. I'm going to show you a resource you have access to help you with this process. It's going to guide you through the whole thing step by step. You're going to make a list of your all your ideas, brainstorm all your possibilities, all your ideas for your potential quiz. And then what you're going to want to do is identify and star 4 of those ideas, your top 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going to want to identify what your 4 favorite ideas are for your quiz based on this exercise. Okay, so this is the process. Step 1, brainstorm your topic. Step 2, brainstorm your framework. And step 3, come up with your top 4 ideas for your quiz. I want to take you through a few examples of this in action. So what we're going to do now is I'll go through a few examples of what this is going to look like when you do this yourself. So check it out. Examples in action. Again, this is Alex. Remember, he's the guy that did the wearable energy patch. In the wearable energy patch market, these were Alex's top 4 ideas. Quiz, what's your energy vitality score? Quiz, what's your #1 energy vitality killer? Quiz, what's your focus capability score? Quiz, what's your body's energy pattern? Great, let's take a look at another example. This is Tammy Lightsell, again in the female empowerment market. She came up with these top 4 ideas. Quiz, do you know your assertiveness type? Quiz, what's your #1 confidence killer? Quiz, do you know your empowerment score? Quiz, identify your biggest boundary breaker. I'll give you another example. This is Anne LaFollette. She's the woman in the surface pattern design market. Her top 4 ideas were as follows. Quiz, what's your unique doodling style? Quiz, what's your unique sketching style? Quiz, what's your #1 creativity blocker? And quiz, what's your personal creativity profile? This is T. Mosley, leadership development, B2B. Here are her 4 top ideas. Quiz, what's your leadership success pitfall? Quiz, what's your strategic planning pitfall? Quiz, what's your team performance pitfall? Quiz, what's your leadership strategy pitfall? Next, Melinda Hurt in the e-commerce hair extension market. Quiz, what's your hair extension match? Quiz, what's your hair extension type? Quiz, what hair extensions are right for you? Quiz, are hair extensions right for you? Tony, dating market. Here are his 4 ideas. Quiz, what's your relationship personality? Quiz, what's your relationship readiness score? Quiz, what's your #1 dating blind spot? And quiz, what relationship mistakes are you making in your life? Give you another example. Ann Wilson, financial advisor. Quiz, what's your wealth health score? Quiz, what's your money story identity? Quiz, what's your biggest freedom blocker? And quiz, what's your unique money flow type? Let's go through another example. This is Dr. Aaron Choi, naturopathic physician. His top 4 ideas. Quiz, what's your metabolic health score? Quiz, what's your weight loss type? Quiz, what's your body's detox ability score? Quiz, what's your body's #1 energy killer? And by the way, of these examples that I've shared with you right here, my question for you is this. If you're getting some ideas, if you're starting, the creative juices are starting to flow, you're starting to jot some ideas down, let me know in the comment thread by typing in the word ideas. Type the word ideas. If you're starting to get ideas for what your quiz might actually look like, go ahead into the comment thread, type in the word ideas. And by the way, remember, if you're getting some gold nuggets, if you're taking away some nuggets, make sure you use that hashtag nugget and post it in the comment thread as well. I'm going to take a look at our comments and see who's getting some ideas on this exact process. Awesome. I love it. I love seeing ideas. Just out of curiosity, what are some of the topics that we're thinking right now? If you've got a quiz topic that you've been starting to think about, type in the word topic and your quiz topic. So for those of you who have maybe gotten some ideas on what your topic might be, based on one of these thought starters or something that you might be thinking, just type in one of your topics here inside the chat, and I'll just rattle off a few of them right here for those of us here in this community right now on some of the ideas that we have. Let's check it out. We've got a lot of us having ideas. Lisa says nuggets and ideas. Brain is on fire right now with ideas, says Kim. Frank says ideas, nuggets. Jeff says ideas. Oh my gosh, I'm loving this. Huge ideas. Pratishka says ideas are creeping through. This is great. And if you've got a specific topic that you're thinking about for your quiz, type in the word topic with what that topic might be. I'll just rattle off a few of these here inside the group. So Adrian's saying topic, perhaps diabetes. Robin says topic, crystal healing. Carson says nuggets, whole gold mine. I love this topic. Let's see, ideas. Energy blockers. I love some of these ideas. I'm gonna hit the refresh button again. If you've got a topic that you're thinking about for your quiz, type the word topic and then type the name of the ideas. Danielle says topic, what's your next best vacation? Take the quiz to find out now. Kathleen says topic, what are your time killers? Wendy says killer, is video your marketing killer? Topic, what is your health score? Says Jeff. Lisa, kitchen remodel, biggest mistakes. Dolores, what is your goddess type? Marion, the questions to find your topic are gold. Love it. Claudia says, what is your leadership type? This is a great topic, loss or gain. Topic, says Laura, are you ready to step into the digital world? Amazing ideas. Angela says, I'm so loving this. The time is going so fast. I'm not even feeling this. Love it, love it, love it. This is great. All right, let's talk about where we go from here. And to do that, what I want to introduce you to is the resource that you get access to alongside today's session. So if you go to the page that we're all on right now, you'll see below this video right here, there is a button that says download now. Click on that button. Click on that button, open it up in a new tab so the video doesn't start. And you can stay on the video right now as I walk you through this, but I want to make sure you've got it. This is your workbook for today. The homework assignment that you want to complete is inside this workbook. Let's go through it here together. All right, you can see here is a little letter from me. You can read that at your leisure. You can see here, this is our process as I outlined it on the iPad. 3 simple steps. Brainstorm your topic, brainstorm your framework, Choose your top 4 big ideas. Here's how you do this. All right, let's take a look. Brainstorm your topic. All the different thought starters that we talked about that are listed here in this workbook. So, top 3 challenges. What's a topic that people are always asking about? What's a best-selling topic area in one of your products, and so on and so forth. So this will help you come up with some possible ideas for your topics. Put your top ideas here. You want to have at least 10. At least 10 possible ideas. Stretch yourself here, push yourself here. Even if they don't come up right away, oftentimes the best idea is not the first idea. Keep going beyond the point when you are stuck. All right, next up, brainstorm your framework. Remember, there are only 3 types of frameworks, type, killer, score, but the question is, what word are you going to use? So just because we have a type as one of our frameworks doesn't necessarily mean that you need to use the word type. Here are some other words that you can use. What's your fashion style? What is your backpack personality? What is your leadership strength? You can see here are other ways to articulate the word type. Same thing with killer. For some of you, you might be in a market where the word killer is it's not appropriate for your market. You might be in a softer market. It may not be appropriate to your marketing style. Well, pick a word from this list, or any word that articulates and conveys the idea of a mistake, of a killer. Same thing with score. You've got score, grade, rating, profile, gap, level, IQ, all these different ways. So what you want to do is take some of the phrases that you really resonate with, that you think could be a good fit from each of these categories, and then combine them to list all of your ideas. And it should be in this format. See it right here? Quiz. Put the word quiz in all caps in square brackets. It lets us know that it's a quiz. And you have your what's your topic framework. So what's your skin type? What's your fitness score? What's your sleep profile? What's your stamina killer? Once you've come up with all of your ideas, at least 10, then you want to check off your top 4. Which ones do you like the best? Which are your 4 favorites? And then when you've done that, your assignment for today is as follows. Choose your top 4 ideas. Once you've done that, grab a screenshot, or even better, take a photo of you and your top 4 ideas, like Michelle has done right here. So Michelle went through this process in the workbook, and she got organic. She got creative. She busted out the Post-it notes, the colored markers, the highlighters. She had fun with this, and I invite you to have fun with this. Remember, the more you participate, the more chances there are to win. And the more you participate, the more involved you get in this exercise, the better your quiz funnel is going to be. So go ahead and do this. You put your top 4 ideas, grab a screenshot, go to the Facebook community. You want to make sure you remember, and here's the important part. You want to post with the hashtag #MyBigIdea. So you want to use that hashtag #MyBigIdea. In fact, it's so important, I'm going to write it here on my notes. You want to use the hashtag #MyBigIdea and post it inside the community. Remember, this is just your first guess. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be the final thing, but post your big idea here, and you want to get this done today. You want to get it done today. So, screenshot of the post, take a photo in the post, post it here, take a photo of yourself so we can see your beautiful, handsome, smiling face, and that's what you want to do. Now, I know for some of you right now, you're saying, I'm stuck. Like, I don't have a business, I don't have a product, I don't even know where to begin. Here's my advice to you. Do exactly what I did when I was first getting started, and that's this. Start with a practice quiz. Start with a practice quiz. This first quiz is unlikely to be your last quiz. So start with a practice quiz so you can learn the process, so you can do the steps. We talked about this last week when I said, listen, the first car that you learned to drive in probably was not your forever car. Probably wasn't even your dream car, right? But it was a vehicle through which you learned a skill, the skill of driving. So pick a practice quiz, pick a practice vehicle to just learn the process, to learn the steps. Just dive right in. Now, if you're stuck and you don't know where to begin, well, here's some great options. Here are 4 types of problems that are really helpful to solve in the form of a quiz funnel. This is for you if you have no idea what to do next. So pick one of the following. Health space, in a way that you can help people lose weight or get fit. In the wealth market, help people make money or save money in some way, shape, or form. In a relationship market, help people improve their relationship with their partner, their spouse, their child, or themselves. Pick a hobby market, help people get better at a sport, music, art, etc. Now, if you're not sure, you don't know where to begin, and you're stuck, well, I'm going to give you a list. Not sure? Pick one from the following list. I'm going to make it simple for you guys. In the health market, pick one of the following: stress relief, muscle building, best diet. Every single one of those is a winner, by the way. In the wealth market, sales skills, leadership, retirement. Again, every single one is a winner. The relationship market, dating advice, parenting, marriage. Last but not least, hobby market, photography, songwriting, tennis. Now, these aren't the only options, but I know sometimes with the paradox of choice, there are too many possibilities in front of you, and sometimes you just need to narrow it down and pick one. Pick one of these on this screen right here as your practice quiz and follow along and follow the process. All right, so next steps. Where do we go from here? We've talked about the homework assignment. Homework assignment is to go through that PDF. The way you get access to that PDF, again, is when you go to the screen that we're on right now, you click this big orange button that says download now. It's going to get you access to this PDF that you see right here. You're going to want to use this as your tool. Make sure that you download it, by the way. Don't use it in the browser. Make sure that you download it, save it to your computer. By doing that, it's going to ensure that it saves all the changes. Once you've done that, follow the steps inside this PDF. Take a photo, post it inside the group. Get creative, lots of color, smiling faces, always wins my favor, always gives you more brownie points to win some of the prizes that we got in store. Use your colored pencils, use your highlighters, use your markers, have some fun with this process, get creative, just like Michelle's done right here. Post it inside the group with the hashtag #MyBigIdea. All right, come back to me here. That's the first thing that you want to make sure that you've done. Next thing that you want to make sure that you've done in terms of next steps is, if you haven't done so already, make sure you join the Facebook group, because that's where all this is happening. The way you do that is by going to quizfunnel.com/Facebook. You're going to see inside the group, it looks a little something like this. And when you join the group, you're going to see a post that says Big Idea Questions. Post your questions about the big idea behind your quiz, and I'll answer them on tomorrow's Q&A call. So that takes us to tomorrow's call. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing a Q&A call. And on tomorrow's Q&A call, I'm going to be taking quiz questions that you have about your big idea. If you've got a question that you'd like for me to cover, do this. Go to this post right here. You can find it by going inside the group to announcements. Scroll down a little bit, and you'll see here, big idea. It's in purple. Post your big idea question. Again, the faster you get your question in, the better chance that it'll be covered. Make your question short, sweet, to the point. Don't give me a big, long paragraph about your backstory and your business. It's just too much to show on screen at the same time. Keep it short, sweet, to the point. Try to make your question as relevant to as many people as possible. If you'd like to get some ideas for your particular quiz and your particular market, you can just post that as well. Share what your ideas are inside this question box, and we'll go and cover as many questions as possible. All right, we come back to me here, and we go to our next homework assignment. Next thing that you want to do is make sure that you haven't done so already, sign up for my secret text message thread. Here is the reason why. When you sign up to the link that you see on the screen, quizfunnel.com/text, not only are you going to get all my notes from today and the notes that you may have missed from day one, but I'm also going to hook you up with a special resource, 101 Profitable Quiz Ideas. Here's that resource right here. So I'm going to send this to you. I'll send this to you in a text message with a whole bunch of different quiz ideas that you can use as thought starters. Heck, you could pick one of these quizzes right off this list and start building your quiz and go to town. Doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. These are all just great quiz funnel ideas that you can use in all sorts of different situations. I'll send you a text message with that list to your phone, and all you need to do is enter your email address, put your phone number in and country code, and we'll send it to you anywhere in the world. So that is assignment number 2 that you want to do. Right, next up, you want to make sure that you, of course, are brainstorming your potential ideas for your quiz, and do this. What I want to invite you to do now as our last chat exercise of the day is to do what we always do when we wrap things up, and that is to share your biggest takeaway today. And the way you do that is very simply inside the chat. Use the word takeaway in all capital letters, put it in square brackets, type what your biggest takeaway is. Let us know what your takeaway is. There's 2 reasons for this. Number 1, it's great to see everybody else's takeaways. Maybe there's something that you missed. Maybe you stepped away. Maybe I went a little too fast trying to get as much possible in the time that we have here together, and you missed it. Someone else shares a takeaway and you say, ooh, that's a good one. Or maybe you see something that you didn't notice that you say, you know what, everyone has this takeaway. Maybe I need to rewatch the training and go through here. It's also a great way to consolidate your learning, to pick up on the biggest things that you've taken away from this training. So use the word takeaway in all caps, square brackets, post it in the thread, and I'll share and say a few of these as we wrap things up before we have one final thing that we're going to do before we wrap for the day. So bear with me one second as I pull this up. Hit the refresh button here, take a sip of water. Take a look at what we got. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So lots of great notes. Great. Downloaded, killer, awesome. What if my market language isn't Spanish? By all means, use Spanish to do your quiz. Absolutely. We've got people in all sorts of different languages. Takeaway, says Kaylee, 5 questions to use and the 3 questions to avoid. Takeaway, says Charisse, topics. Takeaway, learning the complete process and steps. Laurel says, takeaway, brainstorming ideas, light bulb. Vivian, takeaway, 3 frameworks for creating questions. Corliss, topic ideas. Peter, takeaway, 3 quiz frameworks. Adrienne, loss aversion. Kathy says, takeaway, this can be easy. Then it says, takeaway process, start with the end. Elizabeth says, knuckle, potential for loss, myths and conception. Lena, short, sweet, and to the point. Have fun, never let them say no as they're going through the quiz. Absolutely. Let's see what else we got here inside our takeaways of the day. Man, you guys are doing so much. My comment thread is loading a little bit slow. There we go. Beulah, takeaway, review the previous session. Absolutely, my friend. Takeaway, I've got a big idea and a better idea on how to make micro steps to get there. Love it. Jane says, the psychology of questions. Helen says, with any quiz funnel, have different options available. Paul says, begin with the end in mind. Michael says, amazing psychology of the framework types. It's a no-brainer. Christine says, build a quiz funnel is the takeaway. I think that's a pretty good takeaway. Build a quiz funnel indeed. Ann says, the nugget is the process, the workbook. Lisa says, people don't know they need your cure. They think they need the Band-Aid. Greg says, first quiz isn't the last. Diane says, the logical sequence of quiz funnels. Guys, the process that you're going through here today is the same exact process that every single one of the examples, the success stories, the stories I've shared with you has followed. Everyone from Charlie Wallace building a quiz that does $2.2 million a year. Buck Risby, $12 million a year. Andy Mackinson, $24 million a year. Amy Porterfield, $5 million launch. Neil Gordon, $100,000 a month. But it's also the same process that complete newbies who have never done this before are using right now to transform their lives. Like, for example, you can see here Janine doing more in 16 days than 2 years of podcasting just by using a quiz funnel. You can see here Greg Lee following this process, getting help from our team and our process, and generating over $17,000 a month using his quiz. You can see here Beverly launching her book on the back of her quiz, getting over 1,000 leads, 1,000 pre-launch leads before she launches her product. You can see here, this is Brian Dixon, over 4,000 people in his paying membership, 106,000 people taking his quiz. Complete newbie by working with our team and getting this thing out the door. You can see here Jennifer Lee, same thing, getting support from us and our team and going through this process, 11,948 leads doing this here. Christine Abwell, 1,901 leads and 29 people in her coaching program in just 3 short months. Now, on day 1, I shared with you the story of a man by the name of Jamal Miller, and how he used this process, how he used a quiz funnel to go from $17 an hour to making over $500,000 a year. Now, for some of you, I know the path that you're most excited about right now, one of the fastest paths to cash is building quizzes for other clients. Like the literally dozens of people in our community who are doing this right now as we speak. I shared my story of how I did the 55-5 model, $15,000 to $50,000 up front to $5,000 a month. Generating 5% royalty, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. Royalties of $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month. People like Adriana doing this in the non-profit space for charitable causes and organizations. People like Marvin Leventhal, who came out of retirement, 61 years old, doing this right now as we speak, making thousands of dollars for quiz funnels that he is building for clients. But I thought we'd wrap things up here today with a story. Story of a woman who left her corporate career, who left her job, and who is now building quiz funnels for other clients, and who has, in that process, managed to make 4 times as much money doing what she was previously doing in her corporate career to what she's doing right here, right now, which is building quizzes for clients. So for those of you who have thought about that path, who've been excited about that, have been thinking about what's the fastest path to cash for you in this process, well, I thought you might enjoy hearing about Tabitha's story right now. Check it out.
I remember a call where we started brainstorming what our audience of 60 and 70-year-old women, what their pain points were. None of us were women in the ages 60 or 70. We were just thinking about, okay, if I were that old, what would I be thinking? What would I be saying? And we just came up with a whole bunch of stuff. And we used that as copy to get our audience to sign up for the summit. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way to serve this demographic. I have spent over a decade in corporate. I'd go into large corporations and I would do leadership development and team building and change management with those companies. I felt like I was able to make somewhat of a difference, but wasn't really making a huge difference. And I remember probably about once a year I would end up buying a book on some kind of business. I was just trying to find something that I could do that was outside of corporate so that I could have my own business and I could have the lifestyle that I wanted. I didn't know where to begin. I would talk with an entrepreneur about their solution and I would be so excited about it. I'd be like, oh, the world needs to know about this. So I would start just helping just because I thought that the solution was so amazing. I was realizing I knew nothing about marketing. So I ran in circles trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do next? Once I learned the Ask method, the first thing I did was to implement with the clients that I already had and get really good results. As I was doing that work, they became my mouthpiece and I started getting referrals from them. That's when I started really seeing how you can get the specific pain points and the wording of those pain points from the audience and use it in your copy. It's like having a really intimate conversation with your audience that they would normally have in their heads. And they feel like you're on their side, that you've got their back. Before, it felt like I was just making up what I thought the audience's pain points were. I would feel frustrated, I would feel anxious about the results, I would feel like, okay, do I really know what I'm doing here? Is this really going to work? And after the Ask method, we ended up doubling our conversion with opt-ins and doubling our sales conversion. So we ended up quadrupling our results. Now I have a proven formula for getting the results that I know I can get. All I need is to find someone whose product that I fully believe in and work on the marketing for them, and that's really fulfilling to me. By focusing on the marketing of other people's businesses, I've found that it really frees me up to travel and go on vacation, and not necessarily working vacations, real vacations. Because I don't have something that I have to maintain all the time. I'm actually on track to quadruple what I was making before. I feel like I've got the work that I want to do, and I'm able to make time for the travel that I want to have, and I've got the clients that I want to have too. It's just a really amazing feeling to know what I'm doing now.
So we talked about the big idea behind your quiz and how to come up with this big idea. You heard the story of Tabitha and how she was able to transform her life doing this for other people. You heard Jamal's story and how he's doing this for himself and how it's transformed his life in the process. Well, I want to give you a preview of what we're going to be covering on day 3, the third day of our quiz funnel workshop. In day 3, we're going to talk about what we did here today, this big idea, and how it fits into the overall context of the entire process. We're going to take a whole look at this first step, coming up with your big idea for your quiz, and how it fits into the overall framework and process for building a quiz from start to finish. I'm also, for the very first time, going to be doing something that I know a lot of you have been looking for and waiting for. I'm going to take you inside, behind the scenes, of the technology, the actual tool, the technology behind making this process work. We're going to go inside the technology so you can see how to create one of these quiz funnels for real, how to take all those ideas you got swimming around, swirl around your head right now, and implementing it and actually making it work. I'm going to be taking you through all of the secret updates and enhancements our team has been secretly working on over the last 18 months to launch this state-of-the-art next generation quiz funnel technology. You got to be there live though to see this in action. So you want to make sure that you are registered for all the alerts. Make sure that you're here. We're going to be here same time, same place, same channel on Friday this week at 3 p.m. US Central, 4 p.m. US Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time. In the meantime, for those of you who are interested and curious and who stuck around to the end, this is kind of like the post-credits version of a Marvel movie right here. We're going to get you access to that quiz calculator, and you can get that by going to the link quizcalculator.com. Quizcalculator.com is going to take you right to that calculator that I shared with you, and you can use that to measure the profit potential for your own quiz. Or for those of you who are thinking about doing quizzes for your clients, measure the profit potential for them and demonstrate the potential and power that a quiz funnel has in their business. So quizcalculator.com is the link. All right, we're going to wrap things up here. Make sure that you're inside the Facebook group. We're doing a Q&A session, same time, same place tomorrow. We're going to be covering your questions about your big idea. We're just scratching the surface, guys. We're just getting started. This is just the beginning of this process, but I am so glad that you're here right now. So you know what you need to do. Join the Facebook group, get your homework in, post with that hashtag MyBigIdea, share it inside the group, and I look forward to seeing you same time, same place tomorrow for our Q&A session. Take care.